Good evening. You are now listening to the worldwide transmission of the GBC with the Honorable WMII.
Greetings, and welcome to our broadcast tonight. It is a pleasure to come before you and deliver the stories around the world that you know of and that you may have missed. This giving some shout out to Preach the Word Worldwide Network. They have been fantastic in airing our broadcast around the world. You can watch our broadcast on your Roku televisions. Under the Inspirational app, you will see the purple background with the gold microphone for the Preach the World Worldwide Network tab, where you can watch my program and several other great programs around the world. It's a great privilege to be broadcasting our program on that as well. Also, you can look at our YouTube page and look up the Honorable WMII, the GBC with the Honorable WMII. Any of those you will find me on. And you'll be able to see our program as well. If you want to reach out to us and contact us, you can contact us at the Honorable WM, the number 2 at gmail.com. That is the Honorable WM, the number 2 at gmail.com. If you want to support us, you can support us at our Cash App at all capital letters, $THWMII, all capital letters, $THWMII. If you want to advertise with us, or if you want to put your message out there as well, we can show it on our program. You can write me at the email address, thehonorableWM2@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to speak with you and let you know how you're able to broadcast your message as well. I also want to give a shout out to our folks here at Debo Studios. They're doing a fantastic job working with us, and we appreciate them assisting us as well on our mission and to deliver the word to the whole world. Now, you've been hearing a lot of talk about the spikes in the coronavirus cases. They're talk about schools opening and shutting. They're trying to see what would be the best method. Me personally, I think it's hard to have children in masks all day. I don't know how they're going to counteract that. And also some people aren't, up on getting the vaccines. They're not down with getting the vaccines, especially when you do the research of the things that are in those vaccines. It's going to be a hard, compromise that may happen in the fall here since schools are getting ready to reopen. So hopefully they're able to come to some type of agreement. I know some schools offer half virtual and half home. Some are offering full virtual learning. And some are saying, hey, you can come to the school on a certain number of days, 2 days out the week for these grades, and another 2 days out the week for these days with breaks in between so they can social distance. So it's a lot of compromise that has to be done because this is going to be the new normal, folks. We have to learn to adjust, and hopefully things will work out. Now, talking a little bit about these vaccines, it says first phase 3 clinical trial of coronavirus vaccine in the United States began. There are people going around being subjects of the clinical trials for the coronavirus vaccine. This is from CNN Health here. And it says, let me wear my glasses because some of the writing is extremely small. It says, the investigational vaccine was developed by the biotechnology company Moderna. Now, to you who invest in stocks, you can probably be chomping at the bit of hearing this company Moderna. And it says the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, part of the National Institutes of Health. The trial is to be conducted at nearly 100 U.S. research sites, according to Moderna. The first patient was dosed at a site in Savannah, Georgia. So they're beginning to try to offer some type of help for the vaccines that's happening in the country here. And it states Moderna is one of several companies that receive support from Operation Warp Speed, the federal government's COVID-19 vaccine program. On Sunday, Moderna announced it had received an additional $472 million from the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority for a phase 3 study and development of its COVID-19 vaccine, bringing the total to 955 million. So it says, according to the Johns Hopkins University tally of cases in the United States, there are more than 4.2 million confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the U.S., and at least 100,046,935 people have died. So our hearts and prayers are going to those people who have been diagnosed, as well as those people who have died. I reached out to a former business partner. We were in the same organization, and I reached out to him about joining one of my businesses, and he was excited, but he let me know that he was in the hospital dealing with COVID-19, and he is he's better. I think he's been released as of the day before yesterday, but you have to be careful out here, folks. You just can't take it lightly. With this vaccine here, there are some folks who are for it and there are some folks who are against it. My question to you is, what do you think? Do you think the vaccine is something healthy for you to be taking, or do you think there are some bad things that can make you sicker with the vaccine? So write me and let me know what you think about it. Speaking on some weather here, it says Hurricane Douglas could become just the third one in modern history to make landfall in Hawaii. Hawaii is often known as someplace having sunny beaches and having great weather so you can vacation. But we're living in different times now, folks. The weather is going to be happening. The scriptures tell you this as well. How you're going to have weather going on in places. There are going to be earthquakes in diverse places. So these are signs of the times. This coming from CNN Weather, it says more wind and rain for North Islands in Hawaii. Douglas could become only the third hurricane in modern history to make landfall in Hawaii. It says there have been a handful of tropical storm landfalls on the islands, and several hurricanes have come close. But an actual eye crossing the coast is quite rare. It says there have been a handful of tropical storm landfalls on the islands, and on two occasions since the 1900s, where hurricane has made landfall were Hurricane Iniki in 1992 and Hurricane Dot in 1959. Iniki was a strong Category 4 storm at landfall, and Hurricane Dot was a Category 1. It says it is fairly common for hurricanes to track towards Hawaii, but they usually dissipate or at least weaken considerably before impacting the islands, said Mr. Phil Klotzbach, a research scientist at the Colorado State University. He says, for example, both Lane and Olivia impacted Hawaii in 2018. In 2016, both Lester and Madeline threatening Hawaii. So he states the main threats are storm surge, dangerous surf, gusty winds, and heavy rainfall. And also, he said, with the storm center moving along the north side of the islands, north and east facing shores will feel the brunt of the wind and high surf at first. Meteorologist for CNN, Chad Myers, stated. He says, as the storm continues to the west today, the winds and high surf will turn to affect west and south facing shores as well. So our folks in Hawaii, they're part of the United States as well. We wish them a Godspeed and safetyness. In Hawaii, there's some things going on. There's some scriptural as well, but we pray that this storm really puts their mind where it needs to be, on the Lord who makes the heaven and the earth. Reading on in our news, this is from Fox News. It says Virginia, Utah residents report receiving unsolicited packets of seeds in the mail, reportedly from China. So Red China, I've heard this story in the news. They are giving seeds that's coming in people's mailbox. I know North Carolina had a heavy dosage of seeds coming in, the residents' mailboxes, and they're saying don't plant these seeds because it could be harmful and dangerous. What's in these seeds? What's growing? What's going to grow from these seeds? And people have been scared to plant these seeds because they don't know what's going to happen. They say it can damage the crops. We know technology is so advanced, we don't know what could be in these seeds. So reading here in our article, it says Virginia residents have been advised not to plant any unsolicited seeds they may have received in the mail. The state's Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services has advised. It says residents reported to the VDACS that they received packets of seeds in the mail with writing on the outside that appears to be Chinese. The seeds have yet to be identified, but officials speculate that the seeds may be part of an invasive plant species and are advising residents not to use them. So technology is so advanced that people can make what's normal into what that is unnormal, and that can affect people. So what's going on with these seeds? We need to have scientists research and see what is the issue so the American public can be informed. It says taking steps to prevent their introduction is the most effective method of reducing both the risk of invasive species infestations and the cost to control and mitigate those infestations, the official stated in the release. And it says Virginia is not the only state to receive unsolicited seed packets. Salt Lake City was reporting that residents across Utah have received similar deliveries. So as you can see, and I told you earlier, North Carolina also was stated as to receiving those mysterious seed packets in the mail as well. So if you get those, contact your Department of Agriculture or anyone in the government that maybe assist you on that. You can look it up online and find out who you need to contact if you happen to receive those seeds in the mail as well. Just a little bit of here from the New York Times. It tells you that the state's back to work. It says in mid-April, something strange started happening in the United States economy. Smaller companies, those with fewer than 500 workers, started rehiring workers more quickly than larger companies. In this chart here, there's a pattern showing the different companies, whether it's smaller and larger, how they affected the rehiring of workers. I know that the PPP has helped a lot of companies as well. That was given out some months back. Companies that may have been on the verge of going out of business, the PPP actually helped keep the train running for a lot of small business owners. It says during a typical crisis, large companies have important advantages like more cash on hand and better digital operations. So why were smaller companies apparently faring better during the lockdowns this spring? And they said the answer appears to be is the government policy. So shout out to the government to allowing the small business owners to continue to thrive, because we know that is the backbone of our economy. It's small business owners and people spending that work for those small businesses. That is a blessing to see that people are getting back to work and being able to support and provide for their families. Another article here states about the surge in the coronavirus's deaths. And you saw the President Trump, he came out wearing his mask recently as well. And it said he urged Americans to wear masks. It was a sharp departure from his previous comments, saying that it was a political statement against him. But, we don't know what's in this air. We don't know what's this virus, how it can mutate. So let's just take the proper precautions and protect ourselves, folks. Also Joe Biden, he's someone who's rarely been discussed during this time, even though he's running for president. It says his rollout plan for caregivers. He announced this week a rollout plan that he's trying to do for the public, pre-K, 3 and 4-year-olds. He wants to have better pay and benefits and training for child care workers. And he wants to eliminate Medicaid's waiting lists for care of the elderly. So we see that the elderly, they're a community that really needs to be taken care of. A lot of baby boomers now are coming out of jobs and are retiring, and they need to be looked after. Trump's ads. It says that the president's campaign has recently spent $20 million on television ads, and he talks about his rival, Mr. Biden, and that. And he wants to have law and order. He feels that the plans that the Democrats are throwing out is really causing lawlessness in the streets, as you can see in Portland and Michigan and some of these other states. So, China and the United States, they're blaming the coronavirus on China. It says the diplomatic conflict between the United States and China continues to mount. The Trump administration yesterday ordered China to close its diplomatic consulate in Houston. In the hours after the administration notifies Chinese officials of the decision, smoke billowed from the courtyard inside the consulate as employees dumped what appeared to be documents in flaming barrels. So escalations are increasing between the United States and China. We pray that there is no war, because war actually, the people who are really harmed in war are the innocent Americans that go out there and risk their lives. So we pray that this can be resolved diplomatically. Trump also, he sent federal agents to Chicago. There was actually a shooting near a funeral home, and I don't know what's going on in Chicago, but I hope that they get their act together. We were praying for our good folks in Chicago, that they can have peace and have a prosperous city. This violence has to stop. And he sent federal agents to the United States, Chicago area. And the mayor, she originally was not a fan of the federal agents coming, but now she's succumbed to the fact and realizes that we do need to have federal assistance with the violence that's going on in the streets. Interesting article here. It says, as you know, Howard Hughes, they had a movie about him some years back. And it says, after Howard Hughes signed a young cabaret performer to a movie contract, Sam Goldwyn suggested a name change, making all her the more alluring as Zizi Zamaria, a star ballerina, a Broadway Horfer, a Paris chanteuse. She graced stages for nearly 6 decades, and she died at the age of 96. So those of you who are interested in the Broadway scene, she's someone who is big in that. I'm going to cover a little bit more about this story here. There's a story about Planned Parenthood, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. That's going to be actually one of my main topics, but give me a little teaser here. It says a New York affiliate said it will remove the name of Margaret Sanger, a founder of the national organization, from its Manhattan health clinic because of her harmful connections to the eugenics movement. So any of you know about that eugenics movement, it really placed the black population at a disadvantage. We're going to get into some more articles here on the GBC. Thank you for rejoining us on the GBC. I'm your host, the Honorable WMII, covering stories around the world. Again, you can view us on Preach the Word Worldwide Network on your Roku television app, and you'll see us on Sundays at 11 p.m., or you can watch us on demand as well. Just want to get into our stories. It said here, just talking about it's the season for tomatoes. I got some relatives. Their whole front yard kind of looks like the Garden of Eden. They have all types of vegetables and fruits that they're planting in their yard, and you can just walk up and pick them. It says that You may not really need a recipe for a tomato sandwich, but there's this lady, if you look her up, Melissa Clark, she has a good tomato sandwiches from her heirloom tomatoes. That's some very good organic tomatoes. And you can look her up and Google her, Miss Melissa Clark. Back in the day, you used to hear folks eating tomato sandwiches. That's maybe a little bit before my time, but some people still to this day enjoy a good tomato sandwich. Now, I'll tell you what, if you season that thing really well, some of that salt and pepper, and you can have a good little meal there. Also, baseball season is coming. It says that regular season baseball returns. They have 2 television night games that's coming. The shutdown with the coronavirus has really caused sports to pretty much be eliminated from television. But the NBA also is starting to have some games in Florida at Disney World. They're in a strict regulations that they'll be playing in, but just to keep everybody safe from the coronavirus. But baseball is happening as well. It says, what would you expect? The unprecedented, the unexpected. Over a normal 162-game season, rationality asserts itself. The best teams tend to finish at the top, and players statistically usually settle in the normal range. But the 2020 season will be so short that we could see things we haven't seen in a long time. So all sports is changing up. We're in a new normal now. All sports is changing up the way they're doing things. They're having like a tournament style, somewhat like the NCAA does. And, you're just trying to spice it up a bit. So I think it's going to be interesting how this season, well, what's left of it, plays out. This is an interesting article here. It says a small enduring block. Since taking office, President Trump, it says that he's, this article from the New York Times, they're saying that Trump has lost some support from some women and men, older and younger voters, college graduate and non-graduates. But I know Trump says that those studies and statistics are lies. And as we see in the last election with Hillary Clinton, they were claiming Hillary Clinton was above, and in actuality, Trump ended up winning the election. So you really can't go by polls per se. But one thing that they're saying in this article here, that there's 2 big people that are support, 2 major groups that are supporting the president, and that's Black and Latino voters. In this article, it says his support has not slipped. It's actually risen quite slightly. Close to 10% of Black voters and roughly 30% of Latinos back President Trump. So, and you've seen online, if you go on social media, there's a lot of Black men as well supporting the president as they're not siding with the liberal leftist democratic ways. There's a heavy group online. If you look at some of the social media stars, they're promoting Trump for business related matters, and I guess freedom of life. He's against abortion, and a lot of people in the Black communities are against abortion and more conservative as well. Also, Mr. John Lewis, he's been laid to rest. A horse-drawn carriage of John Lewis's body was rode across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. It was where civil rights protesters were attacked by state troopers, which Mr. Lewis was one of them. So our thoughts and prayers with Mr. John Lewis as well. Getting into our final main story of tonight. As I stated earlier about Margaret Sanger, her statue is being taken down as she was one of the people over Planned Parenthood. Now, Planned Parenthood is an organization that, promoted a lot of Black women, Latino women, women of color to have abortions. And a lot of those Planned Parenthood areas were in communities of color. So Planned Parenthood for Margaret Sanger, she was over it. She actually has affiliations with, Adolf Hitler. She actually received an award, one of the top awards you can get from Adolf Hitler. And she was pretty much a racist. And she said that black people were compared to weeds that need to get cut down. She said a lot of things, and she was a eugenist. A eugenist is somebody who believes that they are more superior and everyone else is beneath them, racially wise. And her statue was taken down, and Black Lives Matter was in a coinky-dink because the stuff that Miss Singer promotes, they somewhat agree with, but when they got pressed to task about her views and her statements, they had to take her down. So I applaud Black Lives Matter for taking her statue down. I give them credit on that one at least. But this article here from the Christian Post by Mr. John Stone Street says Planned Parenthood is the most racist institution in America. And it says last week the founder, Margaret Sanger, was being removed from the clinic. You know, in New York, she has streets named after her. She has businesses named after her. Hillary Clinton actually received the Margaret Sanger Award, along with some other politicians in Congress as well. Currently, I believe Nancy Pelosi received an award as well, and many others. But this woman, she believed in depopulating the black population. And someone like that should not be honored, that believes in killing and exterminating black babies and black people and people of color as well. It says proponents of eugenics like Sanger wanted wealthy, healthy, and strong people to have more babies, and poor, sick, disabled, and minority people to have fewer or no babies. In 1939, Sanger and Planned Parenthood launched something called the Negro Project, whose aim was to push birth control on black women. And you can look up Google Margaret Sanger when she was at a KKK meeting. She also gave an award to Martin Luther King Jr. So there are some interesting things that we need to research, because if we don't research our history, we're bound to repeat it. You know, the cancel culture is taking down a lot of these folks who promoted a lot of depopulation and racist ideas. And I must say that the cover is being taken off a lot of these so-called leaders of the past. A lot of their words and a lot of their actions are being made manifest now. And it's high time you see how these folks are and how these folks were. So I must tell you, thank the good Lord, He is opening up the windows and letting us see the sunlight on these criminals and crooks. I say thank God for removing any racist, any evil person. And I thank God for you all tonight.
Thank you for listening to the worldwide transmission of the GBC with the Honorable WMII.
I would like to also ask you to support us. All capital letters is our Cash App, $THWMII. Again, that's THWMII. God bless you all.